Sexual harassment, is it a problem in the workplace? I'm Jessica Rangel, and I'll tell you straight ahead on WVU News.
I'm Zach Oster, and straight ahead on WVU News, I'll tell you why the local economy is garnering national attention.
I'm Kelly Clendenin, and the Board of Governors recently voted on the possible impeachment of the student body president. Our award-winning WVU News starts now.
Passengers from 2 Frontier airline flights are being monitored for Ebola. Find out what airports are doing to prevent the spread of this deadly disease. I'm Whitley Rose.
And I'm Kylie Putnam. Lower unemployment rates make for a booming economy. Find out why Monongalia County is making national headlines. You're watching an award-winning newscast produced by television journalism students at West Virginia University.
Authorities are investigating riots that broke out of Morgantown following the Baylor game.
Crowds set fires, pushed over street signs, and threw rocks and bottles at law enforcement. There were only 50 responders to control a group of 5,000 rioters. Officials are using social media posts to investigate perpetrators. Although many of the people involved were not WVU students, President Gordon Gee is very disappointed in Saturday night's events and released a statement that read, "All law enforcement agencies as well as university officials are reviewing videotapes and social media posts." And Gee goes on to say, "This is not acceptable Mountaineer behavior. It is not partying to set fires, tear down fences, or throw bottles at police. It is criminal and will be dealt with as such." Plans to implement programs monitoring social media, possible fees for students, and new legislation are in the works. On average, 150 air travelers come into the United States from Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea. Those 3 countries are suffering heavily from the Ebola virus.
Because it takes 21 days to become symptomatic, it's hard for officials to contain the virus. I had a chance to learn what local airports are doing to stop the spread of Ebola.
We can stop Ebola.
Officials have confirmed 2 Ebola transmissions on U.S. soil in Dallas, Texas. The UK and the U.S. have both introduced non-touch thermometers at several international airports. These thermometers are in hopes of catching anyone infected with the Ebola virus, which has already killed more than 4,000 people in West Africa.
I think it's a good start, but I think it's really hard. I think it's really hard to look for a fever in someone, and it could be for a variety of other reasons. And as we found with that passenger in Texas, you know, they really weren't sick yet.
An average of 8 million passengers travel through Pittsburgh International Airport a year. It only takes the touch of one person to spread the Ebola virus. 2 nurses treating Liberian patient Thomas Duncan have now contracted the virus. There is growing concern about how many people were actually exposed, even with their protective gear on.
With things like Ebola, things can be transferred on your body. They give us gowns, masks, gloves, all kinds of protective equipment to make sure that we don't transfer to ourselves, families, or other patients.
Texas health officials say there was a breach of protocol, which resulted in the health officials being infected. President Obama has canceled 2 planned travels to oversee the government's response to this crisis.
I hope that they keep an eye on things and that they find better ways for healthcare workers to protect themselves so that people taking care of Ebola patients aren't getting sick.
One of the nurses infected traveled on a commercial flight from Cleveland to Dallas after she had contracted the virus. This outbreak is leaving people concerned about how close to home this virus can actually be. Right here in West Virginia, there have been 7 passengers tested at Charleston Yeager Airport. All individuals tested negative for Ebola.
As of now, there are only 8 confirmed cases in the U.S., and unlike the flu, Ebola is transmitted only through bodily fluids.
According to Times Magazine, 9 out of 10 women feel at risk in the workplace.
Reporter Jessica Rangel is here in the studio to tell us about one occupational hazard for some waitresses.
In the last year, more than 2 million working citizens were reported as waiters and waitresses. The restaurant industry is the largest source of sexual harassment. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission found that 37% of sexual harassment charges are filed by women. Restaurant jobs make up 6 of 10 of the lowest paying positions in the U.S., and many workers aren't reporting harassment in fear of losing money. About 20% of the restaurant industry are mothers, but as I've seen, sexual harassment can happen to anyone.
Thank you. You're welcome.
A new study shows 90% of women in the restaurant industry have faced sexual harassment. Sexual harassment can range from inappropriate jokes to explicit advances. Morgantown Brewery waitress Caroline Peters says she's experienced sexual harassment from customers.
The worst encounter I've ever had, it's really not easy for me to talk about. I didn't tell my manager about it the first time because I didn't want them to come out and make a scene. I didn't want to not get a tip.
The study, conducted by Restaurant Opportunities Center United, found more than half of waitresses are sexually harassed by their managers. Some waitresses are told to wear sexier clothes while working.
That data, I think what it demonstrates is the reality that they have to over-sexualize themselves in order to get those tips necessary to make ends meet.
In the state of West Virginia, minimum wage is $7.25. But employees who work on tips make just $2.13. The study suggested lower wages opens the door for women to be more vulnerable to sexual harassment in order to make money.
Your tip is how you're going to pay your bills at the end of the day. Your tip is all the money you're going to make. So you really don't want to make a customer upset. However, sometimes it can get out of hand.
Men can also be a victim of sexual harassment.
The federal tip minimum wage has been $2.13 since 1991. Hashtag Living Off Tip is a campaign run by the Restaurant Opportunity Center. The ROC hopes to raise awareness of the hardships of waitresses as well as raise the minimum wage. Kylie and Whitley, back to you.
The president not only holds substantial power, but also serves as a public figure to the student body.
And one mistake had the WVU student body president on the brink of losing his position. Our campus reporter Callie Clendenin had the chance to find out what the scandal was all about.
The Student Government Association considered impeaching student body president Chris Neiden for disorderly conduct. Over summer break, he was cited after urinating in public on Wiley Street. Some students feel that he should be held responsible for his actions.
If he plans on being in the student body, he shouldn't go around partying and stuff.
Neiden made officials aware of the situation right after it occurred.
As soon as it happened, I acknowledged that, this isn't a good representation of the university or the student body, and I acted as proactively as possible.
Neiden has not been found guilty of any crimes. The Justice Board recommended impeachment for him based on the SGA Code of Ethics. But the Board of Governors voted against impeachment and are instead giving him a $400 fine. Some students feel that this punishment was unnecessary.
He's a person just like anybody else. He's just a student, so mistakes happen.
Neiden says that it is unfortunate that this issue has sidetracked the board, but it was something that needed to happen for things to move forward.
Well, I've certainly learned a lot from this whole situation. I've learned that I have to hold myself to a very high standard and also hold other people in SGA to a high standard and lead by example.
Neiden hopes to leave this situation behind him and focus on the rest of the school year and his future. Callie Clendenin, WVU News, Morgantown.
The impeachment process requires at least 2/3 affirmative vote by the Board of Governors.
If an elected official is voted out of the office, they can't hold another future position in SGA.
The future of WVU student government might be uncertain, but Monongalia County's future is looking up. During the 2008 recession, Morgantown's average population, income, and employment held steady.
Now Monongalia County is making national headlines. Economic reporter Zachary Ozer is here with us to tell more on the story. Zach, what made Morgantown stand out from the rest of the nation?
Well, Kylie, Monongalia County has about 40 different projects in the works. The wide variety of developments include industrial, institutional, and commercial endeavors. I got a chance to see how one local resident is benefiting from the economic boom.
Housekeeping.
Tisha Blake works as a housekeeper at one of the many hotels in Morgantown. Tisha is one of many residents that was able to find a job easily thanks to Monongalia County's thriving economy.
When I applied, I got a job within like a week. I went, put my application in, did the process, I got hired that same day.
A recent article from the Washington Post praised Monongalia County for having the second biggest drop in income inequality in the entire nation. The equality in Monongalia County comes from the lower class gaining money as opposed to the upper class losing it. Local economist Donald Reinke explains how the county makes it easy for those residents to find work.
In retail, in hospitality, even some of the the oil and gas field, the construction field is booming. And some of these jobs, really don't require a college education.
Monongalia County's economy has been growing rapidly. There have been over 36,000 jobs added in the last 15 years alone. For Tisha, the growth of the county has her in a job she loves.
I like doing housekeeping. I'm going to try to get supervisor sooner or later, hopefully soon. I like it.
In the next 5 years, job growth is expected to average almost 2%, which is above the national average. Kylie and Whitley, back to you.
Coming up on WVU News, tailgates, chants, and victories are on the Mountaineers' schedule this fall, and fans from all over are joining in the festivities.
Sports anchor Jimmy Zito will join us with more. We'll be right back.
I'm Jimmy Zito, and straight ahead on WVU News, I'll tell you why being a die-hard Mountaineer fan is so special.
We're all different. Our interests, our backgrounds can influence our futures. But without focus, they're just dreams. But what if someone could give your interests life? If they could give your background power? If they could fuel what motivates you? That's what gives dreams meaning, purpose. And perhaps that was the moment you knew you wanted to be a Mountaineer.
Last football season, WVU had more than 300,000 fans attend games.
And each year, around 60,000 fans per game return to watch the team. Jimmy, what makes being a die-hard Mountaineer football fan so special?
Well, Whitley, about 50% of the student body are not West Virginia residents, and WVU's Alumni Association has around 200,000 members in about 60 countries worldwide. There are Mountaineer fans all over the world, but I learned that you don't necessarily have to be a WVU student or alumni to become a part of the Mountaineer family.
Mountaineer football fans have been around for about 90 years. And as a fan of WVU, there's a special bond that everyone shares. Die-hard fan David Barr explains why the Mountaineers are so special to him.
Born and raised in West Virginia, and even though I didn't attend West Virginia University, just proud of my home team and always will.
Fans gather around before kickoff to tailgate. They enjoy great food and drink and get to spend quality time with their friends and family. Passionate WVU fan Bob Cord talks about when he would attend games as a child.
Going to games since my dad would take me as a kid, back in the $1 student ticket days, where you sat in the bowl, sit anywhere you wanted for $1.
Mountaineer fans have grown over the years. The game day experience now includes a gold rush, stripe the stadium, and a Mountaineer man trip for the fans to enjoy.
And of course, the after-game song Country Roads by John Denver has a special spot in every fan's heart. Currently, the football team is 5-2 after a big win over Baylor. While WVU football is recognized throughout the nation, a lesser-known sport is bringing home national titles. WVU's rifle team has won 2 back-to-back championships and is looking to bring home a third. In addition to national championships, WVU has produced 16 All-Americans and 13 Olympians. WVU currently has 4 international students on the team and is using their past successes as motivation. Championships aren't until February, but you can check out when their next match is on WVUsports.com. Kylie and Whitley, back to you.
Thanks, Jimmy, and congratulations to the WVU football team for their victory. The final score was 41-27. Now WVU is ranked 22nd in the nation. I'm Kylie Putnam.
Well, that's all we have for today. You can check us out online and watch our previous episodes on YouTube. Don't forget to follow our reporters on Twitter. I'm Whitley Rose. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.